A pleasant evening to everyone. Today we are going to present our report and share some knowledge about describing relationships. So it is another good day to start and listen to our presentation. But before we start our report, we should first know our aim or our main goal for today's evening. So here is our learning objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the learners are expected to identify the correlation between two variables, distinguish between correlation and its various types, and lastly, apply learning through solving problems. So our topic is all about describing relationships. That is why it includes correlation. You may be wondering what is correlation. So it is a statistical measure or expressed as a number that describes the size and direction of a relationship between two or more variables. So it means correlation is a statistical method used to assess a possible linear association between two continuous variables. It is simple both to calculate and to interpret. In other words, it is tied up or connected, and correlation can be used for us to know what's between the two or more variables. Let's say our pen and eraser have a relationship. Then we will use correlation. For example, the increase in height of a child is also accompanied by an increase in weight. The two variables are referring in the example are the weight and the height. And as the example stated, there is an increase in height as well as the weight of the child, it making it linearly related or associated. Thus, it is an example of correlation or being correlated. Another example is number of hours studying and final grade. Student grade in math and English, hours of playing mobile games, and grade in math. In addition, the value of correlation also lies between -1 to +1, a negative and positive. But we will discuss that later. To continue, it is stated here that the extent of correlation coefficient or RXY, also known as the person product moment correlation coefficient, in honor to Carl Person, who developed the said formula. Person product or the moment correlation coefficient, by the way, it is one of the two types of correlation. The other one is Sperman-Monroe correlation coefficient, and also Carl Person, who developed some formula. And as we know what is correlation is, let's discuss the three kinds of correlation: the positive correlation, the negative correlation, and the zero correlation. So in positive correlation, as the value of x increases, the value of y increases too. Or as the value of x decreases, the y value also decreases. Or in other words, it is a relationship between two variables that move in tandem, that is, in the same direction. A positive correlation exists when one variable decreases as the other variable decreases, or one variable increases while the other increases. For example, the more time you spend running on treadmill, the more calories you will burn. While in negative correlation, as the value of x increases, the value of y decreases. Or when the value of x decreases, the value of y increases. In other words, a negative correlation is a relationship between two variables in which an increase in one variable is associated with a decrease in the other. An example of negative correlation will be the height above sea level and temperature. As you climb the mountain, it increases in height, and when it gets colder, it decreases in temperature. And in zero correlation, there is no association between the scores in distribution x and distribution y. In other words, a zero correlation suggests that the correlation statistic does not indicate a relationship between the two variables. This does mean that there is no relationship at all. It simply means that there is no a linear relationship. A zero correlation is often indicated using the abbreviation R equals 0. For example, the smarter you are, the later you'll arrive at work. See, it is not connected. So to continue, there are two ways of identifying the correlation between the two variables. Using of scatter plot or scattergram and using the formula. In using of scatter plot or scattergram, it is a type of plot or mathematical diagram using Cartesian coordinates to display values for typical two variables for a set of data. It determines whether or not two variables have a relationship or correlation. It is beneficial because a scattergram with your data points can help you to determine whether there is a potential relationship between them. While in using the formula, it is used to assess the strength of association between data variables, and formula compares the distance of each data point from variable mean, and uses this to tell us how closely the relationship between the variables can be fit to an imaginary line drawn through the data. We already know that we have three kinds of correlation, right? The positive, negative, and zero correlation. But to further analyze this kind of correlation, the following list is used to measure its strength. For example, in person R, the final outcome of the solving is negative 0.08. And that kinds of correlation that we have is negative because your score is negative 0.08. If you refer it to the table, you will have the conclusion that the final outcome is a negative. It is negative negligible correlation because your score is within its scale. Another example, we have 0.40. The kinds of correlation is positive. Therefore, we can conclude that the final outcome of the score positive, marked or moderate correlation. I know it is a bit confusing, but you will further understand this with some example to be reported by the next reporters.
Correlation coefficient using Pearson R. Here are the steps in solving the correlation coefficient using the Pearson R. So number 1, complete the necessary data in the table such as XY column, XY column, and YY column. The second one is to find the sum of X, sum of Y, sum of XY, sum of X squared, and lastly the sum of Y squared. And the third and the last one is you can now compute for the correlation coefficient using this formula. So first things first is you need to solve these three columns, the xy, the x squared, and the y squared. To get the xy, you need to multiply the x and the y column. So 35 times 25 is equals to 875. To get the x squared, you need to multiply the number by itself. So 35 times 35 is equals to 1222. And 25 times 25 is equals to 625. After you finish all the columns here, you can now find the sum of the column, such as the sum of x, sum of y, sum of xy, sum of x, and sum of y squared. So to get the sum, you need to add all the numbers. Here in math score, 35 plus 11 plus 45 plus 30 plus 45 is equals to 166 hanggang sa and then you need to add the others to hanggang makuha mo yung sum nila. After you get the sum, you can now compute using this formula. So what's the formula for the correlation coefficient? It says here that you can you need to use the Pearson R. So R is R xy is equals to n times sum of xy minus sum of x times sum of y divided by um, square root of n times sum of x squared minus sum of x, and then squared mo yan siya mamaya. Here, n times sum of y squared minus sum of y, and then squared mo rin yan mamaya. So, what's the number for n? So, the number for n is the number of the students. So, how many students do we have? 5. So, you need to put 5 in the n. So 5 times 5,234 is equals to 26,170. And minus 166 times 159 is equals to 26,394. Here at the bottom, 5 times 6,296 is equals to 31,480. And then here, 166 squared, so 27,556. Here naman is 5 times 5,339 is equals to 26,695. And here you need to square the 159. So 159 times 159. So it equals to 25,281. After you get all the solutions, you can now solve for the third the third one. So 26,170 minus 26,394. Since you are using a subtraction, and and this part is higher, you need to so the solution will be negative. So negative 224. And then 31,480 minus 27,556 is equals to 3,924. Here, 26,695 minus 25,281 is equals to 1,414. And then, you need to multiply this at yung nasa bottom. So, the solution is the 5,548,536. So, after you get the solution, you need to find the square root. So the square root of the 5,548,536 is 2,355.533,0606892. So lastly, you need to divide the number to get the solution. So the solution is negative 0.0950 or negative 0.10. So that's the final solution.
The second type of correlation is Spearman-Rho correlation coefficient, also known as the Spearman-Rank correlation coefficient. This type of correlation is typically denoted with this symbol, R sum, also known as rho, and it is written in a Greek letter P. So that is how the symbol of Spearman-Rho correlation coefficient is. But we will discuss it later because we will have to define what is Spearman-Rock correlation coefficient first. So Spearman-Rock correlation coefficient is another way in finding the correlation between two variables. So it is another way because we have already known or defined or already shown what is Pearson correlation coefficient. Now, if Pearson correlation coefficient is the statistical measure of the strength of a linear relationship between two variables, the Spearman-Rock correlation, on the other hand, is a measurement of correlation when the given sets of data are expressed in ordinal level of measurement rather than raw data. So when we say ordinal, it means that the level of the measurement used is grouped into categories and conveys an order of the variables. From the word order, we have this idea of from least to the highest, or the idea of ranking. So for example, a student getting an average of 99 will be placed at the first rank, and it will be followed by others according to their average. So it is used to identify a rank difference correlation. Ranking. That is why it is known as the Spearman rank correlation coefficient or the Spearman raw correlation coefficient. It is used to identify a rank difference correlation. So in simple terms, it is the measurement or it measures the strength and direction of the association between two rank variables. So its difference for the Pearson correlation coefficient is that it is ranking of two no it is measuring of two rank variables while your Pearson is um measuring the linear relationship of two variables. Next, we have the steps in solving Spearman's raw correlation coefficient. So the first step is number one, rank the scores in the distribution if raw scores are given. So we are already given a raw score. So it is given in us. Number two, find the difference between each pair. Number three, square the difference. Number four, find the summation of the squared difference. And number five, solve the value of the Spearman's raw coefficient using the formula. So this is our formula. Our P, or our also known as our R sum, is equals to 1. 6 is already given. Sigma D squared, N is our number of students cases. D squared is our difference between the pair square multiplied and minus by our N squared minus 1. So that is our formula. And this is our given scores, for example, for us to solve. So our N is 5. That is the number of our students. So N is equals to 5. Our scores are already given. Our math is the X and our science is the Y. So for us to know our RY or rank, for us to know our Rx and Ry, or the rank of our X and rank of our Y, also known as our rank in math scores and rank in science scores, we have two, of course, from the given name, we have to rank them. So from the math score, we have to rank who has the highest score. So we have student number 3 and student number 5. They both got the highest score. So lalagay natin dito is 1, sorry sa aking pagsulat, 1 point, lagyan natin 1.5. 1.5 yan siya, 1.5. Pangit. Then our student number 5 is also 1.5. Our next student who has the highest score is number 1. So dahil meron tayong dalawang 1.5, we will Now skip rank 2 and go with rank number 3. So our student number 1 who has the highest score, who ranked the second highest score is number 1. Then we will go to student number 4 who ranks at 4th, and last our student number 2 who ranks at 5. So our student number 3 and student number 5 has a rank the same, 1.5. Our student number 1 is ranked 3, our student number 4 is ranked 4, and our student number 2 is ranked 5 for getting the lowest score in math. Now for us to know the score in our science, we have to rank them again. So this is only ranking. Wala tayong, at this part, wala pa tayong mina-minus or sinasubtract or mina-multiply or divide. We'll just rank them. So the student with the highest score in our science is again number 5. So ang number 5 natin is rank 1. The second student who has the highest score is our student number 2, bumawi siya. The third one is our student number 3. Fourth is our student number 1. And fifth is our student number 4. So that is how we get our RX and RY, or our rank in math scores and rank in science scores. Now, how do we get our D, also known as the difference? To get the difference, dito na tayo magkakaroon ng subtraction. We have to subtract our RX to our RY. So 3 minus 4 is equals to negative 1. Then 5 minus 2 is of course is equals to 3. Now 1.5 minus 3 is equals to 1.5. Tama ba? Yes, negative 1.5. Negative, yun, 1.5. Sorry, dahil hindi talaga maganda. 1.5. 4 minus 5 is equals to negative 1. Then 1.5 again minus 1 is equals to 0. 1 is equals to 0.5, 0.5 siya. Now, for us to get our D squared, or our difference to the power of 2, D squared, we'll just have to, of course, yung D natin, yung difference natin, multiply by itself. So, i-multiply natin siya by itself, not by 2. Because if we multiply it by 2, of course, alam nyo naman yan, the score or the outcome of the score will be different from what you should be expecting. So, negative 1 times negative 1 is of course 1. Kasi nga negative plus negative is equals to positive 1. Now, 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 1.5 times negative 1.5 is equals to 2.25. Sorry. Okay, 2.25. Please bear with me. 2.25. May point yan siya, ha? And then, okay, negative 1 times negative 1 again is equals to 1. And 0.5 times 0.5 is equals to 0. Bala ka dyan, hindi talaga po point. 0.25. 25. And for us to get the sum of our sigma difference to the power of 2, of course, kailangan lang natin ito siyang i-plus, and it is all equals to 13.5. So, para mag-guess nyo pa is 1 plus 9 is equals to 10. 10 plus 2.25 is equals to 12.25. So, 12.25 plus 1 is equals to 13.25. And 13.25 plus 0.25 is equals to 13.50 per neuron. At natin, hindi na natin sinali ang 0, so magiging 13.5 siya. So that, sorry. So that is the overall score of our table na binigay na sa atin for our problem. Now, for us to solve the problem using our formula na. Now, again, our formula is P equals to 1 minus C is 6 is already given, sigma d squared, and our n is the number of our student, and squared minus 1. So, P is equals to 1 minus 6. Dito na tayo pala. So, P equals 1 minus 6. 13.5 siya kasi ngayon ang ating, that is the sum of our problem. The sum sa table natin. Table natin. Now, 5 is the number of our student. Baka makalimutan nyo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, we have 5 students. So, 5. Again, copy the 5, then squared minus 1. Now, P is equals to 1. Magiging 81 siya kasi nga 6 times 13.5 is equals to 81. So, copy answer sa loob. 5 times 5 is equals to 25 minus 1. Next, we have copy 81 minus mo and 25 minus 1 will be 24. Now, P is equals to 1 minus 81 over 120 because 5 times 24 is equals to 120. Now, we'll just have to divide the 2 and you will get 0.675. 0.675. And ima-minus mo lang siya sa 1 and magiging 0.325 na ang ating sum or ating final answer. So, interpretation, the P or ang ating R sum value is 0.325, which denotes low or slight positive correlation between the math and science scores. It shows that students are not so good in math and also not so good in science. Agoy. Pero facts. So why is it denoted that it is low or slight positive correlation? It is, and why, and bakit wala tayong correlation? Why is there no kinds of correlation, the positive, negative, and the zero? Again, the Spearman-Rao correlation coefficient is not the same. Of course, not the same with the Pearson. Because the Pearson is more on the linear relationship, while our Spearman is more on the rank value of our two variables. Our Spearman is more on ranking than your linear relationship. That is why wala tayong positive, negative, or even zero. But we still have to measure its strength, and its strength is low or slight positive correlation. So if you have listened to Miss Yoko's part of the report, you will know where to see this um, denoting of low or slight positive correlation. And that is the end of our report. Thank you and good day.